Good morning, everyone. January 3rd, 2023. And yes, 2023. Hard to believe we are there. We're going to talk and revisit 2022 a little bit. How did 2022 go? Was it a net negative? Was it a net positive for boxing fans? And what do we want to see going into 2023 as boxing fans? Remember the mission statement of this channel. Boxing fan talking to boxing fans about how that we can further our agenda as boxing fans, and don't feel bad about trying to further your agenda as a boxing fan, because they're going to try to brainwash you into thinking that's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to look out for your own interests. It's a good thing they look out for their own interests as fighters, as power brokers, promoters, managers, network execs, etc., etc. Sanctioning bodies. It's time for us to look out for our own interests as boxing fans. Shout out to the chat that's already in the building. OJ22. Happy New Year to you as well. Remy in the building. What's up, Remy? Happy New Year, Chauncey Pearls. Got a lot of the West Coast guys in the building. And happy New Year. And good morning to you guys, bright and early. And you're going to see a lot of this time frame for me going forward, 10:30 in the morning, Central Time, something like that. HCP is back. Hispanics Causing Panics over on D Styles channel is back January 9th. 6 days from now, I will be back. Hispanic Causing Panic on D Styles channel. And we will be talking a lot of boxing, a lot of real cool, energetic stuff coming up on his channel starting January 9th. I'm looking forward to that and getting Hispanic Causing Panic back and moving. Very exciting times. Chauncey Pearl 2023. I want to see Virgil versus Boots, even if it's for no belt. Let's see the fight. Let's start off with this. Let's see Virgil versus Stanionis and see what he does with Stanionis. And then Boots, he's got to get past this Karen guy, which I'm sure he will. And for the love of God, let's get movement back in the division. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. The sexy divisions need to be sexy again. Make the sexy divisions great again. That should be the motto in 2023. That's one of the things we're missing in boxing. And we'll talk about some of the positives. It won't be a negative show. We'll talk about some of the positives, like my top 12 pound for pound. Everybody on that pound for pound list, for the most part, did something good and meaningful in 2022. In a way, number one on my list, he unified, beat Donaire, became undisputed at 118. Now he wants to move up to 122. Usyk beats Anthony Joshua in a rematch, and he wants to fight Fury for undisputed. Crawford waited around. Not the fight that we wanted, but at least he got a top 10 opponent on his resume. Dimitri Bivol, the year that he had. Canelo, although he lost to Bivol, he fought that fight and then put the trilogy to bed. But there are good things, positive things to talk about in boxing, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about Tank Davis. I see Tank sleeping Garcia. What a garbage fight. Dude is slow with no respectable power. You know, I don't know about that with Hector Luis Garcia. Hector Luis Garcia is a good 130-pounder. Pulled off one of the biggest upsets of 2022 against Chris Colbert, but this is no Chris Colbert. Chris Colbert can't crack an egg, right? But at the same time, Hector Luis Garcia was a 15-1 underdog going into that fight, and now he's a 10-1 underdog against Tank Davis. It opened up 14-1. Now it's 10-1. There seems to be some people thinking that distractions for Tank Davis will get in the way. I mean, it also could be the bookies trying to get you, the odds makers trying to get you to put some money on the fight. Could be that too. Over under 7.5. So this is the likely scenario for Tank Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia. If we're using our instincts, if we're using our experience, guided by instincts, it's Hector Luis Garcia will win some rounds early, because everybody wins rounds early against Tank Davis. They do. Tank Davis, the top fighters, out of the top fighters in the sport, he's the most economical in the sport. It's a scientific fact. The most economical in the sport. The dude throws 34 punches per round as a lightweight. He's throwing less than heavyweight numbers as a lightweight. So he's going to give up rounds, but as he's giving up rounds, he's timing you, and he's going to land that big shot. And that's likely what's going to happen in this fight with Hector Luis Garcia, right? It's Tank will give up some rounds early, but he doesn't really care because he doesn't plan on going rounds with Hector Luis Garcia, who is a guy who is naturally smaller, a guy who will come in naturally with his chin there, and Tank Davis will tap his chin at some point, and I think will eventually get him out of there. But it's 10-1 odds right now. Do it that as you want. I'm waiting for the prop bets to come out. I'm eyeing that over under at 7.5. I think that's priced right. So we'll see as the week goes on. We'll be talking about the betting odds. Haven't seen you in a while, Calix. Where you been? A lot of busy stuff going on the past 2 weeks with the family and business and all that. But I'm back. 2023. I've kind of been laying low as well, just seeing what's happening, and then re-energizing. And we're back. Charlie's Angels full throttle 2023. Like I said, I'll be over on D-Styles channel a lot going into the new year. Be dropping a lot of stuff on my website again. Is Boots really fighting someone named Karen? Yes, he is. Was Josh or Franco robbed? I'm going to get on to that in a minute. I'm going to drop 10-20 on Garcia just to play the odds. My guy Remy, appreciate this. Your blurry background is insane dope. Happy New Year. Hector Garcia comes forward a lot and perfect for Tank. The reason for the blurry background is there's a lot of stuff going on in my office right now. So redoing the office, so I got to blur a lot of this stuff out until I get it under control. But as far as this right here, and thank you, Remy, for the super chat. Appreciate that, bro. As far as this one right here, I don't think that Josh Franco got robbed, because if you look at the CompuBox stats, it tells a story of Josh Franco was clearly more active, clearly throwing more punches, and was effective in his aggression, I felt like. But Ioka was clearly the more efficient fighter, like clearly. And there were even some rounds where Josh Franco was a lot more active, but Ioka was landing more punches. So I can handle a draw. It just felt like Franco was a better fighter to me. I had a 116, 112 Franco. And I felt like my discrepancy with the scorecards was there was clearly rounds in the second half of the fight that they gave to Ioka that I felt Franco clearly won. I thought he clearly won them. So I just feel like Franco was an effective aggressor. And on top of that, I don't feel like Ioka's efficiency equaled what Franco was doing as an aggressor. So Franco was an effective aggressor, and I just don't feel like Ioka's efficiency offset that. Ioka was landing clear shots, clear combinations, but in between that, like Franco was clearly the more effective aggressor, trying to take the fight to Ioka, and it's tough to go over there and win a decision, and Franco learned that. But going into the fight, I was thinking, can Franco, coming off of a long layoff, win enough early rounds? And he did. He did, in my opinion. He took the fight to Ioka, and I just think that Ioka didn't handle it as well as I thought, but both fighters looked good, like really good. Franco answered a lot of questions coming off that long layoff. He outworked Ioka, and I just felt he had a good showing for himself, and he earned a rematch for that fight. I like to see a rematch or just go straight to the Gallo Estrada fight. But if you're going to do the Gallo Estrada fight, you got to put up more money for that fight. And that's what I'm talking about with these lower weight classes. It's a lot of times we see what should be going on in the sport at these lower weight classes, guys fighting guys. Somebody was pointing out the amount of unification fights we had in the sport. A lot of them happened in the lower weight classes, and these guys are behaving more like fighters, and we're not rewarding them as fans. People were making rants about hardcore boxing fans. Why isn't Franco versus Ioka on US TV? Why? It's because of us as boxing fans. We're not rewarding the fighters who are behaving like fighters. Frank Martin versus Michelle Rivera. It tanks in the ratings. It tanked. Chocolatito versus Gallo Estrada 3. It didn't do great in the ratings. The fights that are fights, even odds fights, we need to reward them in the ratings, but we're not. And we're rewarding behavior like guys going on Twitter. taking shots at each other on Twitter. Oh, did you see what that guy said? Did you see what that guy said? Scoring it like it's a real fight. I don't care about Tank and Ryan's back and forth on Twitter. I don't care. Are they going to fight? Or are they not going to fight? Oh, did you see Bud say Errol needs to spin the block? I don't care. Are you going to fight or are you not going to fight? The welterweight division has largely been a dumpster juice division. Talking. Do something. Do something. We all can talk. We all can go on Twitter and talk. Hell, do something. Fight each other. Virgil versus Stanionis. Get it going. Get it going. Spence versus anybody. For the love of God, dude, by the time you fight, you'll be on a 12-month layoff. Where the hell is this fight announcement? Make it. Make the fight announcement. And for the love of God, dude, if it's going to be 12 months and it's Keith Thurman and he's off of a long layoff as well, why in the hell? I mean, I have a crazy question. Terrence Crawford fought a month ago, right? He's not doing anything. Errol's not doing anything. Why don't they fight in April or May or June? But it's this constant putting things off, marinating stuff that doesn't need to be. It's overcooked already. You can't marinate it anymore. It's overcooked. Bud versus Errol, make it now. You should have made it 5 damn years ago. 2018, 2019, 2020. No. We need to wait. No, he needs to cross the street. No, he needs to cross the street. He needs to cross the street. He crossed the street. Oh, we're going to make Errol versus Ugas. What? He crossed the street. I mean, he's across the street. You don't need to make Errol versus Ugas. He crossed the street. Well, we need to make Errol versus Ugas unification fight, and then we'll do it for Undisputed. I'm telling you, it's going to be bigger than ever as Undisputed. Then we get to Undisputed. Errol beats Ugas. Now all of a sudden we can have Undisputed. I'm saying let's make the fight. 4.5 months later, they send this dude. They send this dude a rough draft of a contract, not even a real contract. So he fights in Omaha, Nebraska, against a top 10 opponent, Evan Nejian. Good fight. He wins the fight. Let's just do it now. Errol's not doing anything. In the 8 weeks between Bud saying he's going to go fight Evan Nejian and Bud fighting Evan Nejian, Errol doesn't do anything besides go on Twitter and talk. He doesn't do anything. Doesn't sign a fight, no contracts, no fight dates, no announcements, nothing. And then we're now 5 weeks after that. We're 13 weeks after Bud says he's going to fight Evan Nejian. 3 months later, Errol's still sitting there. No fight, no date, no announcement, no opponent, nothing. So in my crazy boxing world, I'm saying to myself, how about we make Bud versus Errol now? Bud's been off for 4 or 5 weeks. Errol's been off for 9-10 months. They both seem to be ready. How about we just make the fight? No, but we need to do Errol versus Keith. Why? Why do we need to do Errol versus Keith in April? Why? Because that's the word, right? It's going to be Errol versus Keith. Why? I'm supposed to just sit over here and accept it. Like, oh, yeah. But Errol versus Keith. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that one. No. How about no? How about Keith has been sitting under a tree doing Tantra yoga on his yoga mat, playing flute, barefoot for how many years? Not accomplishing anything in the welterweight division. When's the last time this dude had meaningful welterweight win? And somehow he's still in the top 10 of the welterweight rankings. So how about we don't do that? How about you give the young lions a shot if you're not going to fight each other? If you don't do that, just move to 154. Like I don't care at this point. But Errol versus Keith, no. Not interested. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. With no frame. I was thinking Estrada would outwork Franco, but his work rate is high too. Franco can fight. They're going to do anything. They're too busy protecting their oath, thanks to Floyd, making that bullish, glamorous. Crawford Spence should have been a trilogy by now. Crawford Spence could have fought. They could have fought 12 times by now. For the love of God. For the love of God, fight each other. Do something. And are we going to get Bivol versus Beterbiev? I love Bivol's year, but it's this constant marination. Before Beterbiev fought Joe Smith Jr., we were talking about, if Beterbiev wins this fight, or whoever wins this fight, we're going to get undisputed. Bivol just beat Canelo. Bivol said he wants to fight for undisputed at 175 before the rematch. Let's go straight into undisputed. But Bob Arum being a promoter, promoters being natural cock blockers of the fans, Bob Arum comes out the day before. We're going to fight Yard after Beterbiev wins this. And I'm saying to myself, we're going to do what? What are we going to do? We're going to fight Yard. And it's going to be a great, beautiful fight. And I'm like, how about we just fight Bivol? How about Bivol fights Beterbiev? We're here. Like, boxing is great at this. We're here. Like, the book is going. We should be getting to the last chapter. And they're like, nope, we need to add a chapter. Oh, we get to, nope, add another chapter. Nope, let's add another chapter. Another chapter. How about we get to the end of the freaking book? The climax is right there. Bivol versus Beterbiev. We've been knowing it for a while. Two top guys, two dudes. Great stylistic matchup. We don't really know how it's going to go. Even odds fight. Two guys in the top 10 pound for pound. I got Bivol number 4 in mine. Beterbiev number 8. It's a fight we want to see. One of the best pure fights in boxing. But we need to marinate it. We need to marinate a fight between two guys who have been around for a decade. Why? Well, we need to give Yard a shot. How about Yard waits for a shot? How about that? Remember when Trust Fund Eddie Hearn was trying to get in the way of Bivol versus Zurdo for a mandatory? It's like, no, how about, look, we wanted Bivol versus Beterbiev, so how about you give us at least the silver medal? How about you at least give us Bivol versus Zurdo? You try to get in the way of it. So they try to add steps. Welterweight division. Prime example of this. It's like, dude, get to the point. You've had the top two guys. And look, we're going to talk about positives because there are positives. I mentioned my pound for pound list. The top 12 guys on my pound for pound list are all doing stuff. They're doing stuff. I got good things to say about Devin Haney, Lomachenko. They want to fight each other. They're going to get it done. It's going to be a good fight. Neither fighter fears each other. There are good things and positive things to talk about, but we need to focus on the things we need to fix, because if we do that in 2023, there is no way, for the love of God, and Steve Kim, shout out to Steve Kim. He wrote the article about it last week, and I've been bringing it up throughout 2022. It's like, this is a bad pattern. It's a bad pattern. The top 10 pound for pound guys in the sport shouldn't be fighting a combined 14 times. It's a bad pattern. I'm just telling you, like, no matter what you accomplish, you can do as many unification fights as you want, as many undisputed fights as you want, all this stuff. If it's not sustainable if these dudes are doing it once a year. Not sustainable. For the love of everything holy, can we get guys to fight at least twice a year? And it expands out. Top 50, 69 times. Top 100, 130 times. It expands out. Prospects, fight. I got people asking me who's the prospect of the year. I don't know. I don't even know what a prospect is at this point. What's a prospect? What's the difference between a prospect and a contender? If contenders are acting like prospects. I don't know. Is he a prospect or is he a contender? I don't know. I don't know who my prospect of the year is. How am I supposed to know? And how am I supposed to know who the top? I do a list. I got it on my website. I'll post it on Twitter later. But it's becoming blurry who the top pound for pound fighters in the sport are because they're giving us so little to go off of. How in the hell am I supposed to judge between a guy like Canelo, who fought 6 times since December 2020, against a guy like Bud Crawford, who's fought twice, but Bud looks a little better? But is that because Bud hasn't been fighting as often? Has he not been fighting against as good a competition? So Canelo goes 5-1 in that span, but I'm supposed to take him off the list because he loses to another guy in the pound for pound list, and Dimitri Bivol. And then I got people going at me for putting Canelo in the top 5 pound for pound, when the dude is outworking everybody on the list. What am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know. We will get this fight when the fans hold both accountable, keep the same energy with Bud. Spence versus Bud ain't happening. At this point, I could care less about Bud versus Spence. I haven't cared for 3 years now, actually, and that's fine. That's becoming where I'm at with it. But what I'm saying is, get on with it. Get on with it. And I got the Spence fans coming at me all the time. Well, keep the same energy with Bud. Well, tell Spence to do something. Y'all been saying for 4 or 5 years for the dude to cross the street, and you waited 4.5 months to send the dude a rough draft for a contract. And then you made the Ugas fight before that. He was available. He's available now. Have you sent him a contract? He's been available for a month again. Have you sent him a contract? Has Al Haymon sent him a contract? I don't know. Like, I'm asking the Spence fans. You apparently know. You know everything. So tell me, have they sent him a contract? If not, why not? They're both available. And we all know where Bud has to go if he wants to fight. Right? We all know where Bud's got to go. I was told for 5 years, if he just becomes a free agent, the fight's done. It's done. It's done. Done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. But he becomes a free agent and it's not done. And then it's not done again. And then now we're a month since his last fight and no contract. That I know of anyway. No deal, no offer. So why isn't it done? It's Bud's fault. Again, it's Bud's fault. It's Bud's fault. Okay, it's Bud's fault. Whatever works for you. Whoever's fault it is, I don't care. Let me get some movement in this division. Move to 154. If you're not going to fight Bud, move to 154. Just go. Just go. Move to 154. Fight. Give up your straps and go fight Keith at 154. Let Boots fight somebody for a title. Let Virgil fight somebody for a title. For the love of God, free up this division. Unleash this division. Somebody do something. It's locked at the top. No gatekeepers for the younger fighters. Zayas is a prospect in my eyes. Let's block the user real quick. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the difference between a prospect and contender anymore. F it. If you ain't fighting Bud Crawford, fight Boots is mandatory. Let's go. And the interesting thing about that is Boots has never politicked to fight Bud, at least to the sanctioning bodies, right? But he has to fight Spence. So they're both on Showtime. It's an easy fight to make. Make the fight. You can make the fight, right? Make the fight. But I'm going to be told when I ask for this fight after Boots beats the Karen guy, how about we just do Boots versus Spence? Because once again, Spence is not doing anything. And he wants to fight in April, May, June. So makes sense, right? If you're a boxing fan, it makes sense that they can make that fight in April, May, June. Boots will be ready to go again after he dispatches of this Karen guy pretty quick. But I'm going to be told that we can't do that because it doesn't make business sense or something like that. Or because it's too early. Because, of course, it's too early, right? Of course. It's always going to be too early. Always going to be too early until it's too late. It's always too early. Too early. It's too early. 2018, no. Arrowverse Buzz, too early. 2019, no. Arrowverse Buzz, too early. 2020, Arrowverse Buzz, too early. Too early. It's always too early. Everything's always too early. Boots versus Virgil. If they're not fighting other people, they can fight each other. No, it's too early. They're just too early in their career. Of course, it's always too early. Always. And we got 147, still a mess. Boxing fans making excuses for these fighters. The standards have never been lower than they are right now. And you want me to put these fighters in the same breath as guys who fought in the 90s, 80s, 60s, 50s, 30s. Maybe these fighters are more athletic. Who knows? I don't know. But I know they're not fighting as often against top opposition as those guys did back then. That I know for sure. So how do we know how good these guys really are? We have to lower our standards to make them look like they're better than they really are. Guys taking shots at Tim Bradley, Carl Froch, when they're announced that they're Hall of Famers. You look at Tim Bradley and Carl Froch's resumes. You got real ones. Tim Bradley, fight after fight after fight after fight. Carl Froch, 12 fight run. I've gone over it. Dropped a video about it. Underdog in 8 of those 12 fights, somehow wins 10 out of the 12. One of the most undervalued fighters of our era, as well with Tim Bradley. They don't fly off the screen when you watch them fight. And two of the reasons why is because they overexceeded expectations constantly. They don't look great, but they don't look great because the eye tests are as great as other fighters that you mentioned. Is because those fighters aren't fighting the level of competition that a Tim Bradley and Carl Froch fought. It's easy to look great when you're not doing great things. I know that's going to sound crazy, but it's easy to look great when there's no resistance. We've gone over it. Tank Davis, 10 years in. What has he done on his resume? David Benavidez, 10 years in. What has he done on the resume? Hopefully 2023 is the time to step up for those guys. Hopefully this Ryan Garcia fight happens. Hopefully the Caleb Plant fight comes off. Maybe David Benavidez wins that fight. If he does, it's a great win, or it's a good win. And it gets him where we need to get him. But these guys need to do something. I'm sit here and crown these guys. Like Boo Boo Andrade, he hasn't fought a single title holder in his whole career. You realize that, right? Like Boo Boo Andrade hasn't fought a title holder in his single, like a real title holder. And I'm not talking about Reggie belts. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm supposed to be sitting here with the small violin, like playing it for this guy who's not doing anything. Of course he's talented. He looks talented, but it's easy to look talented when you're not fighting anybody. Fight Zach Parker, something. The sport is a bunch of dog crap. There's no incentive for fighters to take chances, and who sells the fans? I hope more networks get out of the sport so it will force better fights. I hope that networks decide they're not going to work with a specific promoter anymore. Work with them all and have the promoter who puts on the best cards, have him on your network the most. That's it. Enough with the exclusive contracts. Enough with the minimums for these fighters. Get these fighters active. Get the best cards on these networks and get the sport going. Unleash this great sport. But the business keeps getting in the way. And there are great things going on going into 2023. We can get Lomachenko versus Haney for undisputed. A great fight. Great fight at 135. Tank versus Ryan. It's a great fight at 135. Hopefully we get that in April. Hopefully that fight comes off. There are things that can happen in this sport, but we need to get it moving. My concern is the problems we had late into 2022 seem to be spilling into 2023. Cancellations. Guys still posturing and talking on Twitter. That run we had between April and early July, we need to get that more often. Get it more often. And we can do that if some of the things I talked about would happen. Get rid of the minimums. Networks, no more exclusive deals with the promoters. More co-promotion. That's the big one, more co-promotion. But get these fighters more active. Of course, the guys on the top pound for pound list had some great wins in 2022. Pretty much all of them. But they need to do more. And as a boxing fan, demand more of these fighters. Notice the lack of fights were never a problem before the PBC and Al Heyman. Salute to Nando in the building. Appreciate you through. I meant suffers. Sorry, I'm so angry I didn't type that right. I don't think Spence will fight Fundora 154. I don't think so either. And that's the thing. Like if Errol moves up to 154, there's PBC fighters and other fighters available for him to fight. But will those fights happen? I don't know. I'm late. Why is Boots with that awful resume fighting Speedy Ellis this weekend? Same card already. Why isn't he fighting? I don't know. I don't know, Nando. There were guys there. And Ellis, from what I heard, Ellis turned down the fight. I don't know. And Boots is going to have a lot of this until he gets that title. Right? He's going to have a lot of, I don't want to fight that guy. It's not worth the risk. He doesn't have the name in order to, for us to take that risk. And not that part. But it's like I talked about on the channel a million times. You got to start taking risk if that's not going to happen. You got to do one of two things. You got to fight more often. You got to fight quarterly if your Boots Ennis against the top opposition available to you and knock these guys' heads off early in the fight. Stay in people's faces and give them highlight reel KOs until that fight has to come to you. The Gennady Golovkin route, right? Or you take the Paul Williams route. And the Paul Williams route is move up to 154 or even 160. Take risks, give up some of your assets in order to get the fights, the bigger name fights at 154 and 160. The issue with that is even now, like middleweight's not a sexy division either. Guys at middleweight don't want to fight. So I'm not sure that will even work at this point. So to me, if your Boots Ennis, you just stay active. But the issue with that is he has an exclusive contract with Showtime. And Showtime's only going to give you so many dates. And Showtime's going to put everything on pay-per-view. So this dude is buried on undercards of pay-per-views that not too many people are going to see. So how do you build a guy up that way? As opposed to Gennady Golovkin, who was the main event on HBO quarterly, and you were able to build his name up to the casual public. Spence trapped back into a wall. If he ain't fighting Crawford, he has mandatory boots or else on a move to 154. And I've been hearing stuff like that for a while, though, and somehow they still manage away, right? If Spence fights Thurman, that's lets us know about him. Bud will fight another no-hoper, and you guys will celebrate him for it. I forced mandatories on both or strip them. Look, at this point, I hope they strip both of them. We're 5 years on this. 5 years. If they're not going to make that fight, get the division going. Give betting advice. I assume you mean on the Tank Davis fighting right now, I would hold still. That's what I'm doing. Like on the Tank Davis fight, I'm not doing anything because 10-1 is far too much. I don't think Hector Luis Garcia is going to pull off the upset. I just don't. I don't think the distractions are going to come into play. And people are asking me about that. I don't care what happens with Tank Davis's personal life. I really don't. So what happened last week? It was funny seeing Showtime, who seems to virtual signal on a lot, for them to be quiet throughout that whole situation. That was funny. But as far as what happens with that, I'm sure everybody involved with that whole situation last week made some business decisions. In those 2 days from when the police report and then she announced that nothing happened, I'm sure people made business decisions, and I'll just leave it at that. But I don't care. The fight's going on. I care about the boxing part of it. So this is a boxing podcast. So if you ask me if that's going to be distract, possibly, but he's fighting a smaller fighter who will leave his chin up in the air, who will win early rounds against Tank, because everybody does. But as he's winning early rounds, Tank is going to be measuring him, timing him, and he's eventually going to land something big. And the big question is, the guy who is going to give Tank problems, likely, and Isaac Cruz sort of showed the blueprint of that, is a guy who is active and has a good chin is going to give Tank issues. Right? And I think that's why you sort of keep him away from guys like that. Because he was supposed to fight Raleigh on that fight, but they pushed that one back. Economical fighter, averages 34 punches per round. If you're averaging 34 punches per round like Tank does at lightweight, the punches you're landing, you better be on it. And you're heavily reliant on a knockout. And once you climb the ranks, that works for guys outside the top 10. That works for guys even outside the top 5. But once you get to that elite level, guys in the top 5, no matter stylistically who those guys are, that stuff's going to come into play. So when people ask me, why have they been so risk averse with Tank's career? That's why. 34 punches per round, fellas. As a lightweight, that's economical. The most economical fighter in the sport. You're heavily reliant on a knockout. So when we get to the guys at the top, and you're banking strictly on a knockout because you're going to lose rounds to those guys, particularly early in the fight, they're also heavily reliant on that O in the right column when it comes to Tank Davis. And they shouldn't be, because you can sell this guy as entertainment regardless if he wins or loses. You're going to have guys like me who don't care. As long as this guy's fighting top competition, he's an entertaining fighter. He wants to knock your head off. He understands the entertainment value of things. There's a lot of great things going on with Tank. There's going to be guys like me, a lot of them, more than you know, who will be a fan of this guy, win or lose if you step him up. But for whatever reason, they're heavily reliant on this O, keeping this O. And that's frustrating as a boxing fan. Charlo's, Benavidez, Plan, etc. should have been crossover stars by now, but they always half-stepping at PBC. And this is the thing, like, the part-time boxing model doesn't allow for stars. And this is what I was going to talk about today, is we always produce great fighters in the sport of boxing. And we're doing it with American fighters right now. Keyshawn Davis, Frank Martin, another one. Entertaining guy, or great fighter, a lot of potential. Jared Anderson, Devin Haney, Bam Rodriguez, Shakur Stevenson. These are all young guys, supremely talented, but where's the star in there? Jared Anderson could be that guy, but there should be more is the point. David Benavidez, like, there should be more. David Benavidez should be a household name. Tank Davis should be bigger than he is. Ryan Garcia should be bigger than he is. I understand, like, the casuals in my neighborhood know who Ryan Garcia is from Instagram. You have a lot of casual fans who know who Tank Davis is as well, but these guys should be bigger than they are, and they're not. The part-time boxing model does not allow for it. And the pay-per-view model does not allow for it either. Everybody thinks they're going to be Floyd Mayweather. There's not another Floyd Mayweather out there. It's not out there. Currency over legacy. Get you less of both over time. Floyd was legacy over currency before he was currency over legacy. He's leading these guys astray. He's telling these guys to go for currency over legacy. You have to build an organic fan base, and in order to do that, it has to resemble a sport. You have to build these fighters the traditional way, and the new school boxing media fans are not going to want to hear that. I understand it. But you have to build the star the traditional way, and they have to go through some sort of fire before they become a star. They have to. You can't skip that step. You can't. Can't skip it. So where's the star now? Where's the star? Canelo's got 4 or 5 years left, however long. He'll probably be a once or twice per year fighter going forward. Anthony Joshua, same thing. How much longer does he have left? Where's the star going to come from? To me, Jared Anderson is the biggest possibility of a star. Being that he's a heavyweight, he understands the entertainment value of it. He wants to knock guys' heads off. He seems to be a little more active than his peers. And he looks like he has technical fighting skills as well. He seems to be the full package. People still want to see heavyweights, and they still want to see heavyweights knock each other out. And they can sniff out, don't underestimate this, they can sniff out the real from the fake. They're smarter than you think. I shouldn't go there with Deontay Wilder, but maybe I will. Will Karen go over 3.5 rounds? I don't think so. I don't think Karen's going over 3.5 rounds. Boxing is giving us cards with big names, but they're fighting subpar competition, not each other. And I don't, and this is the thing, Bruce, it's big names to us, but it's not big names out there. Like people out there, casuals know Tank and he's a draw everywhere, but like I said, he should be bigger. There's a discrepancy on the pay-per-view numbers. Is he doing 50,000? Is he doing 200,000? I don't know, but is that big? So when you put a card together where you have Tank Davis 10-1 favorite, Boo Boo Andre 20-1 favorite, I think Boots is a 40-1 favorite, 50-1 favorite, and you call that a great card, it's like, no, you're just putting names on there against no hopers is what you're doing and trying to pass that off as a card. And Showtime is putting everything on pay-per-view now because they don't have it in the budget because they got to pay these guys their high minimums. And I'm asking myself, how is this sustainable? How is any of this sustainable? But these are big names to us, but they're not big names. Like nobody knows Boo Boo Andre. Like go ask your neighbor who Boots Ennis is. They're not going to know. And that's the frustrating part is the dude is talented and he's marketable and they're not doing anything with him. Bruce Gas in the building. Will Hector go over 7.5? I don't know yet. I'll give you my official prediction later on in the week, but I don't know yet. I don't know. I tend to think lean yes, but I don't know yet. And by the way, the over and under 7.5 is pretty much even. So they think once you get into the 8th round, 7th round, that's when it starts to get a little sketchy and a little tougher for Hector Luis Garcia. That's what they tend to think, the handicappers. But it's a tough call. Are Bud and Spence even that exciting to watch? They're good, but damn, I don't miss them when they don't fight. I think they're exciting. I think they're fun fighters. And people seem to get this impression of me that I don't like Spence. I'm a Spence fan. It's just his extreme fans bother me because his extreme fans in a lot of ways are the reason we get a lot of the stuff that we're getting. I have to share, as a Spence fan, I have to share an umbrella with these dudes. And You're not helping. You're not helping. Like, you need stop enabling this career. Like, and he's fighting good competition. He is, but when I hear stuff, like, oh, he's not that active because of look at all the injuries. Well, like, we're not the ones who told this dude to get drunk and drive a Ferrari $150 into a brick wall. Like, we didn't do that. He did. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He got injured in sparring. Like, durability is part of it. It's part of it. You got to be a durable fighter if you want to be a great fighter. And he hasn't been a durable fighter as of late. You got to be durable. And if Bud just crosses the street, I've been hearing that for like, you got to understand, when you hear that for 5 years, it becomes nauseating. It's like, no, he doesn't have to cross the street. They can co-promote that fight. What was the big, like, people were telling me when the fight fell through in September, October, whenever it was, well, PBC has to front all the money. They have to fit this square peg into the circle hole. And it would have been easier if Bob Arum could just front Bud's money and Al could just front Errol's money. Duh! That's what we've been saying for 5 years. To limit the risk, Al can front Errol's money. Bob can front Bud's money. And we have a fight. But we've been brainwashed by the power brokers into thinking that cross-promotional fights can't happen. Especially as the fight gets bigger, when it's the opposite. It limits the amount of risk on both sides. Yet they'll brainwash you to think, oh, because Bud's over there, the fight can't happen. No, it could happen, and it could have happened, and it should have happened. Like everybody's been saying, it should have been a trilogy by now. Make the damn fight. But they're not doing the fight. So I have to scratch my head when this guy becomes a free agent and crosses the street. And he says in the post-fight press conference after the Sean Porter fight is, I got to go over there to the PBC and try to make that fight. That's the fight I want. He says it openly. And then they go and make the Ugas fight. And then they fight Ugas, and then they wait 4.5 months to send him a rough draft for a contract. And now they're both available again for a month. And what's going on? What's going on? Speedy Ellis was always turning down fights with Golden Boy. That's why they dropped him. Yep. I'm with you, Calix, on most of your points, but some of your contenders don't hold Bud to the same standard. And Bud has made some mistakes, and I've been vocal about that as well. Bud has made some mistakes in the past business, as has Regis Prograis, another one of my favorite fighters. He's made some business decisions that, had he made other ones, he could probably be further along in his career, but we are where we are now. Virgil Ortiz is going to get Stanionis and Bud this year. Bet it. I hope so. I bet if Bud announced him fighting Thurman, nobody would give him grief like they would Spent. Chauncey Pearls. Virgil Ortiz needs to grow a pair of cojones and go after Bud. You can't say you are ready for a bet, but blatantly duck an available champion in the division. And there's a lot of avoidance going on in the division. Virgil has been calling Bud out. The college football playoff games were epic. Also, shout out to Tulane. That's right. Shout out to Tulane. Green Wave for that win. The LDBC fans only care about the O and that their guys make a lot of money. Us older fans don't give a damn about the O. Hearns lost early to Leonard. He would have been done in today's era. Could you imagine Twitter around that time? Calling these guys exposed and calling these guys overrated. The modern day culture, man. The modern day boxing culture kills me. Losses being the end of the world. Everybody's afraid to do anything. If it's an LA area, count me in. Benavidez Bros could have been the Diaz brothers of boxing. Could have been. Look at the undercard this weekend stacked with big names fighting nobodies. That's right. Unfortunately, this is as good as it gets. Spence, Canelo, Tank Ryan, GGG fans, most toxic in boxing. Most normal boxing fans ain't on Twitter. Most folks just want to see a good fight tripping. And as I go to fights, Nando's right about that. And we talked about that in the past, is boxing Twitter doesn't move the needle. It doesn't. It doesn't move the needle the way people think it does. When you go to a fight, a lot of the fans at those fights, paying for those fights, I guarantee you they're not on boxing Twitter. Tank's Coach Ford's comments pissed me off. Belts don't matter anymore. What? Real convenient for him to say that. I would ask him if he means money over legacy is what he means. You can do both. The interesting thing, and I've talked about this, the Tank Davis theorem. You could also call it the Ryan Garcia theorem at this point, is they camouflage themselves, right? Belts don't matter. And when you say belts don't matter and you brainwash people to think this, of course belts matter. But when you brainwash enough people to think that the belts don't matter and I'm the best fighter at 135, I don't have to prove it because I am who I am. You see me fight. Yeah. Devin Haney. I don't need to fight Devin Haney. Come on. Devin, let Devin and Kambosos do their thing, and then let Devin and Lomachenko do their thing, and let Shakur do his thing. I'm the best at 135. Why? Because I said, you see me fight, right? I look great, right? That's all you need to know. Trust me. I'm the best fighter at 135. So why don't you fight a top fighter at 130? I don't need to. You heard my fans, right? I beat everyone. I beat Willie Pep. I beat Henry Armstrong. I would beat any fighter who ever fought around lightweight in the history of boxing. Not only current fighters, but ever. I'm Tank Davis. You see me fight. I knock everyone out. Did you see the Leo Santa Cruz knockout? I beat everyone. So why don't you fight the top guys? Well, you know, those guys are over there and I'm over here. Let them cross the street. We've heard that one, right? Yeah, I'm sure if Shakur crosses the street, he'll get the Tank fight, right? Sure. I'm sure if Lomachenko crosses the street, he'll get that Tank fight. I'm sure if Devin crosses, he'll get that Tank fight. Sure, I'm sure of it. Because track record tells us that, right? All they need to do is cross the street. But they're over there. I'm over here, and I beat everybody. Like, I'm Tank Davis. I don't need to fight anybody. Theoretically, I beat everyone. Reality doesn't matter. It's new age boxing. I don't need to win these fights. I don't need to fight for the belts. I'm above it. And by the way, it doesn't matter if I fight for real belts because I'm a three division champion. Yeah, but you didn't know. It doesn't matter. Did you hear Al Bernstein on Showtime? I am a 3-division champion because everyone says so. I don't need to fight for real belts. I don't need to fight the top fighters. I'm above that. I'm above it. Have you seen how many Instagram followers I have? I got 3.5 million Instagram followers. That's my belt. Jake Paul. The Jake Paul era. Ryan Garcia, you can put him in there too, but top lightweights. No. I'm actually at junior middleweight or junior welterweight. I don't need to fight 135 pounds. I'm at 140. So he wins a fight at 140. Regis Prograis calls him out. No. I'm not at 140. I'm down here. Tank and Ryan fight each other. It's going to be at 136 because of course it is. It goes together perfectly with the theorem. The Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia theorem is you don't need to fight for the belts because the belts don't matter, right? We're above the belts. We're above this resembling a sport. We don't need to do that. We don't need to campaign in a single weight class. We're above that. We're above your rankings. We're above it. We'll still get mad. Believe me, we'll still get mad, and our fans will still get mad if you don't put us on your pound for pound rankings or the top of your rankings. But the rankings don't matter to us. We don't need to campaign in a single weight class. We don't. We'll fight at 136. We'll fight at 137. We'll fight 140 pounders We'll fight 135 pounders at 140. We'll do whatever we got to do in order to blend in. But at the same time, we got to stick out. Instagram followers, Twitter followers, extreme fan bases. It's quite the scam they got going. But belts don't matter is a big part of what they of that scam. When you go to 140, they don't have to fight Regis Prograis or Josh Taylor. They don't have to. They're above it. You heard it be when Regis Prograis called out Tank Davis after the Matteo Barrios fight. Josh Taylor, what's he bring to the table? What's Josh Taylor bring to the table? Why would we fight him? He doesn't have any fans. Matteo Barrios doesn't have any fans. What do you mean? What do you mean? At least Josh Taylor brings belts to the table, undisputed belts. Matteo Barrios brought a Reggie belt to the table. He doesn't have fans either. Rolly Romero, really? What does he bring to the table? No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And then they get their extreme fans to attack you for saying this stuff. Quite the scam they got going. Yeah, they fumbled that bag. Team Batman Boxing in the building. Virgil has been calling Bud out. Ain't nothing, LOL, before fight and interview. Marination everywhere. Ryan wanted that fight at 140, but Mayweather playing his weight games. I think so too. Tank Ryan ain't happening. Davis already talking about the Isak Cruz rematch. I have my doubts too. It all seems good to be true. Way too good to be true. But I'll tell you this. And this is what I need to tell boxing fans out there is just demand the best fights. If it's your fighter, don't be afraid of your favorite fighter losing. Like, what is that? What is that? Like, why? You don't want your favorite fighter. Like, you come up with every excuse in the book for your fighter not to fight top competition and everybody's ducking him just because you don't want to see your top fighter possibly lose a fight. What is that? You'd rather see mismatches? Be the boxing fan first and foremost before you're the fan of the particular fighter. 3 division Reggie belts, contender forever. And this is what I'm saying. Like, when people ask me prospect of the year, contender of the year, I don't know because I don't know the difference. The line is so blurred now between prospect and contender. Prospects are staying prospects longer. Do we consider them a contender, especially when they're saying the belts don't matter anyway? Because I don't even know what they want to contend for. And then contender versus champion. There's so many fake champions out there. So who's a contender and who's a champion? You have so many guys parading around as champions who aren't champions. You have 68 real belts in the sport, not counting the Ring Magazine belt. WBO, WBA, WBC, IBF, 68. But you got a million dudes walking around claiming to be champions. So what's a champion? What's a contender? If Showtime says it, I guess it's so, right? If Showtime says he's a 3-division champion, I guess we got to take their word for it. He's a 3. Al Bernstein said it. Al Bernstein's a Hall of Famer. He wouldn't lie, right? So he's a 3-division champion. And he's a pound-for-pound star. And he beats everything, including Henry Armstrong and Willie Pep. Because those guys were fighting plumbers anyway, right? I want to be a fan of Tank Davis. I want to be a fan of David Benavidez. Give me something to be a fan of. Give me something. I don't know, Nando. I don't know if we'll get Prograis versus Ryan. I think you're showing too much faith in Ryan right now. I don't know if we'll get Prograis versus Ryan. I think we'll get, I don't know who will get Prograis against in April, but I think he'll have a fight in April in New Orleans, a voluntary fight in April. That's what I think. And I agree with you on this. Golden Boy is not afraid of losses. That's for sure. But Ryan versus Prograis, that's quite the leap. I don't know. I hope you're right. I'm out. Till tomorrow. God bless. Peace.